Yo, what's going on guys? In today's video I want to talk about the Atlas passives. So in the patch 3.16 we are getting a lot of changes to the Atlas, and one of those changes is that 4 of the zones are gonna be removed, so only 4 gonna remain. That means that a lot of Atlas passives are gonna get removed and some of them are gonna be moved to the remaining zones. So that means that the 4 remaining zones are gonna have more Atlas passives on them, but we still will be able to choose only 5 big ones. So what we got is in the patch notes we got all of the names for all of the passives that will be in with the 4 remaining zones. Also we got some new Atlas passives and changes to the existing ones, but reading the text is not really that great, to be honest, and no one really remembers which one is what. So what I did is I did my own images. So this one is the official PoE. The GGG released this image on, I believe, on Twitter, so we know these positions and so on are for sure what they are here. I did my own few edits, but more about that in a second. But we didn't get images for all of the zones. So for example, Haewark Hamlet, we got the text, so we know what Atlas passives are gonna be here, but we don't know what are gonna be their position. So for example, here are all of the metamorph passives, which I just copy pasted in here, and we don't know if these are actually positioned. So high yield, escaped experiment, and finest sample are for sure gonna be in Haewark, but for example finest sample might actually be here and escaped experiment might actually be here. We don't know that part, but we still know a lot, so we have enough information to make some kind of strategies with these passives. So what I did is, if the image doesn't have any like an X marking on it, it's not changed, so it's basically the same thing as it was in the previous league. If it has a yellow one, that means it has been moved from somewhere else. If it has a red one, it has been changed somehow. And also there is a blue one for the new ones, but the new ones are only in Lira Arthain, they are expedition ones. So let's talk right now one by one about each zone, what are their passives and what kind of strategies you can go for, and what are my recommendations for the passives. So let's go from the bottom. So we still have the Harbingers passives, they are not changed, so same thing, you get additional Harbinger and chance that they will be replaced by powerful boss, Harbinger boss. Here are the Delirium passives, so they actually came from Tyr's End and from Lex Ajoris. And we actually got, in my opinion, the most powerful ones. So for Tyr's End, Greater Forces and Singular Eternity are the best ones. And for the Lex Ajoris, the Persecutory Delusion is the best one. And we got all 3 of them in one zone node. So technically Delirium got a little bit buffed in my opinion, but we still don't have the Zana mod for Delirium, so it doesn't really matter too much. It's still gonna be a pretty good way to farm Delirium, but not as great as in the previous league. Here we have the Blight nodes. So Valdo's Rest used to have the Blight passives, but actually all of the passive that we will have now actually come from Lira Arthain. So basically all of the Valdo's Rest has been removed and replaced with Lira Arthain Blight passives. And here are all of the passives from Lira Arthain. So here is Immune Response, Spores on the Wind, and Epidemiology actually got also changed. So what we got is still we have Blight chests in areas have 100% more chance to contain blighted maps as it used to have, but we also have lanes of Blight encounters in areas have 35% chance for an additional reward chest instead of blighted maps found in areas are anointed, which wasn't that great to be honest, but now we got partially Mass Mycelium passive, so the bottom one, onto the epidemiology, so it actually got buffed a little bit, so technically it is a bit better. And I also believe that the Lira Arthain passives were better, so the fact that we lost Tyrn's End, Valdo's Rest one, is actually pretty nice. Next ones are the sulfited, so Nico passives. And to be honest, most of them just give you more sulfite and that's pretty much it. I believe Guarded Hordes is combined 2 passives from New Vastir and Lex Proxima, so they just can give you together a little bit more sulfite. And also we don't have the passive that gave 10% chance for additional Nico mission, but now the small points give 3% each. So technically we still have 9% chance to get the Nico mission. And the last ones are the strong boxes. So they are not changed, they are just moved from the Glennah Cairns. So in terms of the strategy for this zone, to be honest, I think this one is actually probably the worst one. Obviously, if you want to farm Delve, you will farm this zone because of the sulfite passives. Strong boxes will still be good for the monstrous treasure and strong boxes sextant, but that's pretty much it. The Harbinger stays the same, so what I would go for this zone is actually I would choose the Harbinger nodes and the Blight nodes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you would farm Blight with Blight Scarabs or Blight on map device and just Harbingers for additional loot. And you can also use 1 Watchstone with Harbingers in area drop rarer value currency shards and 3 Watchstones with increased chance to drop the blighted maps. That probably would be the best setup. Delirium again is probably not gonna be that great since there is no Delirium on map device, but still you can go for that if you don't like Harbingers and blighted maps. Next zone is Lira Arthain. So this zone in my opinion is actually probably the best zone, and I'm gonna talk about why. So first, let's talk about each one of the passives, again starting from the bottom. So here we have the natural selection, which has been always here, so it has not been changed. But we also got Big Game and Great Migration from the Tyrn's End. So these two, just like with Simulacrum, these two actually, in my opinion, were the best one in Tyrn's End. Well, they actually were the only ones in Tyrn's End, but they were really powerful. And Natural Selection was the only good one in Lira Arthain. So now we have all 3 of them combined in one zone. So you will have 15% chance that the red beast will appear in pair, yellow beast will be replaced with red one, 10% chance that there will be a lot of beasts in one map, and all of these beasts will be less common varieties. So it's big buff to bestiary. Here we still have heist, so it has not been changed, and we got new expedition passives. So first one is this one, which gives just some buffs to the explosion radius, number of explosives, explosive placement range, so it's just decent. We had these mods on the logbooks and all of them were pretty nice, so it's just pretty good for the expedition. The bottom one has 50% increased quantity of expedition logbooks dropped by runic monster, which is very good. It can appear on remnants, and usually when I saw the remnant with this mod, I would pretty much always choose it because it's just so good. Logbooks are usually very expensive, so it's very good passive. And also it has areas contain 25 increased numbers of runic monster markers, which is obviously also really nice. The top one is, in my opinion, a bit worse. It gives 40% chance that remnants will have additional suffix modifier, and Arya have 2 more remnants. It's still good, don't get me wrong, but I believe if you have a choice between buried knowledge and ancient writings, I don't know how you read it, you would probably just choose bottom one. Also, we got the exotic goods and trespassers, so the invasion passives from the Tier's End, and they are not really that powerful in my opinion. You might do them at the beginning of the league, but it's not really that big of a deal that we have them here. But here is the biggest change. So the Flash Breach gives 10% 10 additional rare monsters, and breaches open and close 50% faster. So this is the most powerful breach passives on the entire tree in the past league, and it also actually got even buffed. So it got breaches in areas have 30% increased amount of monsters. So it's very big buff to already the best breach passive in my opinion. Also in Lex Ajoris we had within their grasp and gatekeepers, and they also were very powerful, and now we have all 3 of them in the same zone. So here it was worth to farm Lira Arthain just for this one. It really didn't matter that you have like 10% chance for additional breach. And in Lex Pejoris, these were very big ones, so again gatekeepers and within their grabs. And in my opinion, both of these zones were almost equally good to farm breach. Maybe Lira Arthain was a bit better, but both of them were really good spots to farm them. And now you will have all 3 of these passives in one zone, which is very powerful. Also, again, this one is even buffed. So, in my opinion, this might be one of the most, if not the most powerful strategy in terms of making money. So, what would be my choices to go for in the zone for the passive? So I would obviously go for all 3 of the breach ones, and then I would probably go for 2 of the expeditions, so this one and the top one. And I would use Zanamot with breach, so area contains additional breach, and breach scarabs, probably polished one for 2 additional breaches, and expedition scarab for expedition encounter guaranteed. And that would be my strategy for this zone. If you want to, you can also go for bestiary farming, but you probably would want to do that if you are playing in party, since every time you encounter a beast, everyone in the party is getting it, so you can buy gilded bestiary scarab and split the price and everyone gets a beast. But with these passives, they are actually very powerful, so you might actually want to go for that strategy, even solo. And also, by the way, for the breach and expedition strategy, I would probably use 4 wardstones with increased chance to get Chayula. But even if you don't have that one, you can go for something like Ulnetol, or maybe just lower tier of Chayula, or even without them. Okay, next one is Haewark Hamlet. So this zone, in my opinion, actually has the most amount of choice. So there's a lot of good things in here. And it also hasn't been changed that much in terms of the passives that it had already. So it had the essence and it still has them. They are not changed, the same thing. You get additional essence, corrupting imprisoned monsters that cannot release them, and essences are 1 tier higher. The same thing for ritual, it has not been changed. The same thing, you get 10% chance that the area will contain ritual. Ritual altars in areas allow rerolling 2 additional times, and 100% increased chance that the ritual altars will have special rewards. So it's the same thing as in last week. For Harvest, we got a few changes. So Grove Skull is still the same, 10% chance to get additional to contain Sacred Grove, but we lost the top and the bottom passives, and now we got the ones from the Lex Proxima. So Heart of the Grove, the boss always drops Sacred Blossom, and Harvest has a 10% chance that the Unchosen Crop will not wield. And the areas contain additional harvest. So in my opinion, this is actually probably a nerf. The Nature's Favor was very powerful one. Just because of this one, you would go to Haewark Hamlet to farm harvest. Wild Fruit is not that big of a deal that we lost it, so it doesn't really matter. And we got these two passives from Lex Proxima. Don't get me wrong, they are actually pretty nice, but both of them together are still, in my opinion, worse than Nature's Favor. Okay, next one is Metamorph. So none of them were in Haewark Hamlet. We got High Yield from, I believe, Valdo's Rest, Escaped Experiment, and Finest Sample from Lex Ejoris. So now you will basically have a 50% chance that you will find randomly already combined Metamorph in the map. Also, both the random one and if you have the Metamorph encounter, both of these will have more damage, more alive, and 50% chance to drop double reward. And also, if they drop sample, they drop 2 samples. So again, I think these are the most powerful Metamorph ones. Maybe the Repeated Experiment is probably the one that we would also like to keep, but I would say it's not that big of a deal. We still can get 2 Metamorphs thanks to the Escaped Experiment, but obviously it is random, so it will have random rewards. We are also getting Seance, which was in Lex Proxima. So this is basically just used for the Sextant that gives you Scarab drops from the possessed monsters. And for the Yun missions, we lost the one that gives 10% chance to gain additional Yun mission, but probably the small ones have 3% chance each, so that's probably still 9%. The bribery stays the same, the intelligence gathering stay the same, so we still get randomly just intelligence for completing maps. But we also got the Test of Loyalty from the Valdo's Rest. In my opinion, that's actually a very big buff, because what I used to do when I was farming Syndicate, I was farming this zone just to gain some additional missions, to get some free intelligence. Once I had enough intelligence to be able to do Katarina, then I would go to Valdo's Rest and get my members ranked up pretty fast thanks to Test of Loyalty. And now you don't have to do that. You can do that just in one zone. So you will be at the same time getting intelligence, and you will be able to rank them up super fast. So Syndicate actually got a big buff in my opinion. Okay, so in terms of strategy and what I would go for is at the beginning of the league, essences are gonna be very powerful, especially since we have essence on the Zana map device. So this, I would definitely go for these 2. And the other 3, it's probably up to you, but I would probably go for the Metamorph, since the catalysts are pretty expensive at the beginning, and just getting free Metamorph every 2 maps, and also if you're gonna use Metamorph Scarab, you will always get double samples, and also 50% that this Metamorph will give you double the rewards is pretty nice. But obviously finest samples might not be the greatest choice if you have a bad build and you can't handle 150% more life. It actually makes the Metamorph much harder, so you might want to decide to not go for this one. Obviously we don't know if you have to go for this, so let's say it is here and you have to choose it to go for the other one. We don't know if it's somewhere separate. We'll have to wait for that information. But again, I would if I can handle finest samples, I would probably go for essences and the metamorph, and go for essences or map device and metamorph scarab. Later on in the league, farming syndicate might be very good. I would not go for it early on in the league, since not that many people are crafting, so you will not be able to sell that many for riches, async and so on, and you will probably also have to sell them for not that big of a profit. Harvest is a weird one because there is no harvest on map device, and you have to do it just to find harvest randomly. Also, again, we don't have the Nature's Favor, which is a big nerf, but still you can use harvest to get some medium or large cluster jewels, just craft them and make some money through that. But again, you will find harvest very rarely, so that might not be the best strategy. But what you can do is you can buy the warstones with sextants that say the area contains sacred grove. But these sextants are usually very expensive, so depending on the price, that might be actually a very good strat. And it's the same for ritual. Usually ritual is not that big, but if you can get the warstones with area contains ritual, they can be decent if the price is good for them. So again, early on in the league, go for essences and metamorph. Later on, go for syndicate, and probably still essences, maybe metamorph, or maybe even harvest, depending what you want. Again, this zone is very good overall. It's just what you want to do. And the last one is Glennah Cairns. So again, let's go over each one of them. So at the bottom we have the exiles, which used to be in New Vastir. They are not that great, to be honest. It's something that you go for if you don't have anything else that you would like. Here we got the Abyss passives. So I really hope that the Abyssal Army, which used to be in New Vastir, is the first one, since in my opinion this is the most powerful one. It gives you abysses in areas spawn 100% increase monsters, and Abyss already spawns a lot of monsters, so it's very useful for a lot of strategies. And with 100% increase, that's actually very good, especially since we have Beyond in the zone, but more about that later. The Lightless Legion and Underground Kingdom is from Team's End, and both of them are not that great, I would say. At the beginning of the league you can make a little bit of money from Lightless Legion because it gives Abyssal Devs +3 monster level, so you can find and sell high level Stygian Vices, but that's pretty much it. Also, Underground Kingdom can give you just increased chance to find abysses, but that's pretty much it. Also the leeches, but no one really cares about leeches. Also we kept the Beyond passive, so nothing changed with them, so still just a chance to get Beyond, chance that the Beyond monsters will give you currency items, and you require fewer portals to summon monsters from Beyond. Legion actually, in my opinion, got a big hit because the best Legion spot to farm, in my opinion, was New Vastir. I actually didn't really like farming Legion in Glennah Cairns, and we actually didn't get any good passives from the New Vastir. So it still has the high value targets, so just additional surgeons and better rewards, face to face, just the chance to get the generals, and when you get it you get both of them, which are pretty nice. But the best one in my opinion was Emblematic, and we actually didn't get it, so overall less profit in my opinion. What we got is Protracted Battle, which doesn't really give you anything. It only gives you a little bit more time to clear the Legion, but if you have good enough build you don't really care about it. Again, we don't know exactly position, it might be somewhere separate, you might not have to go for it, so you just choose two of them and ignore this one. Next one is Alva. So for Alva we kept two of the ones that help you progress your temple, so Contested Development and Resource Reallocation, which both of them are really nice, especially in the later stages of the league. And we also got time dilation from the Lex Ajoris, but it got nerfed. Now instead of guaranteeing that the monsters are always at least magic, now it gives you only 33% chance that the monsters will be at least magic. So it is a bit nerfed, but it's still probably pretty good. Okay, so what kind of strategies you would go for? So early in the league, probably the only viable strategy is Legion. Again, it's still nerf, but there is no other choice. You have to go for Glennah Cairns if you want to go for the Legion farm. And it's probably still gonna be pretty nice. It's just, I think farming Breach is gonna be better, but maybe because of that, a lot of people will just focus on farming Breach and everyone will leave Legion alone, so maybe prices of emblems will be higher, so it might actually be worth to go for it. Other than that, when you're gonna farm Nemesis free strategy, going for Glennah Cairns is probably gonna be pretty nice, because we still have the Beyond in this zone, and you also can combine it with Abyss for even more monsters, for more Beyond spawns. And if you don't know what Nemesis free strategy is, basically you are rolling your Warzone with Sextants until you get the Nemesis monsters drop 3 additional currency, and you stack the most amount of monsters you possibly can in the map, especially the rare monsters, and then you roll the map until it has the Nemesis mod, so all of the rare monster will drop the currency, and then you stack Beyond and you put Beyond on the map device so that you have even more rare monster in the map, and Abyss helps with that a lot. So actually moving Abyss from the New Vastir into this zone is a buff to that strategy, especially the Abyssal army. So I would go for 1, 2, 3, 4, and as a fifth one, probably Time Dilation on Underground Kingdom would be the best ones, but we don't know their position, so you might have to go for Underground Kingdom, not Time Dilation. So that's pretty much it. To sum things up, early on in the league, you probably in Valdo's Rest would want to go for Blight plus Harbingers with 1 Warstones for Harbingers and 3 Warstones for Blight, or maybe some kind of other combination, but I think that one would be the best. With Lira Arthain, probably the best way to farm currency early on in the league. Go for 3 Breaches and 2 Expedition with Breach Scarab and Breach Warstones, increased chance that you get Chayula Breach, and 2 Expedition passives with the Expedition Scarab. If you are playing in a party, you can go for Beasts, maybe even solo will be nice to go for Beasts, but usually prices of Bestiary Scarabs are very high at the beginning of the league, so I don't know about that one. In Haewark Hamlet, I would probably go for Essences and Metamorph. That's pretty much it. Maybe Harvest if you know what you are doing, but that's a bit risky. If you know what you are doing and you would know about Harvest crafting, you can go for this one. And in Glennah Cairns, the only choice for the beginning of the league is probably just Legion. There isn't really anything else. For the later stages of the league, I believe the Beyond, again with Nemesis 3, is gonna be the best in this zone. Alva is probably not gonna be that great. It used to be really good later on in the league, but in this league we have Scourge transformation mechanic, which is basically corrupting, so double corrupting item is probably not gonna be that great anymore. At least this league. In the Haewark Hamlet, in later stages of the league, you probably will want to go for Syndicate and maybe Harvest. Essences actually may still be good depending on the market, the economy. In Lira Arthain, Breaches probably are gonna be just good throughout the entire league, especially since we have the new Uber content, so new Uber Breaches, and Breaches had some changes to their rewards. So I do believe a lot of people will be farming just the bridgestones, so a lot of people will need bridgestones, so demand for them will be high, so supplying it with these passives is gonna be very, very good. Speaking of the Uber content, my next video is gonna be about that. I'm gonna explain what are the Uber riches and the other Uber content that has been announced already. So thanks for watching and see you in the next one.